All right, guys, we are back, and now we're switching scenes out to a team that is no longer in the playoffs, the Toronto Maple Leafs, and their firing of Sheldon Keefe. What is next for the Toronto Maple Leafs? What did he do in his tenure that really resulted in this firing? I like to say this is not a surprise. Nobody was really shocked in the hockey world by this. We all saw this coming. You kind of assume that they're using Sheldon Keefe as a little bit of a scapegoat for what's going on in that organization right now. You don't want to blame the players. So where are we blaming? We're putting that blame at Sheldon Keefe and at the management position. It could also mean Riley Shanahan could be the next out the door, maybe, possibly. But for Sheldon Keefe, he was really good in the regular season. He has the best regular season win percentage of any Toronto Maple Leaf coach that played or that coached over 300 games. He just could not get over the hump. He had a .665 win percentage or point percentage when it comes to the regular season, but he only won 1 out of 6 playoff series that he played in, 1 out of 6 playoff series that his team played in. He came in to Toronto when they got rid of Mike Babcock back in 2018, 2019, in that offseason. And he was really set to be that, kind of next generation of coaches. He was the next one to kind of break into the scene as a coach, kind of a little like wonderkind type of coach. But they really just wanted to go away from what failed them in Mike Babcock, the kind of old school style of coaching. And Sheldon Keefe started off by doing that, but it didn't get results for you. You failed to beat the Blue Jackets in the bubble playoffs. They win in Game 5. You failed to beat the Bruins, or you failed to beat the Lightning in 2021. You do beat the Lightning in 2022, but you lose to the Panthers. And then, this season, they're not able to beat the Boston Bruins as that game goes 7, or that series goes to 7 games, and they aren't able to beat them. So for Sheldon Keefe, he had that bad playoff stretch over his 5-year tenure. And for him, it's just really a couple games are really defining his tenure. What is that Toronto Maple Leaf team able to do if they're able to beat the Blue Jackets in 2020? I bet that they match up a little bit better to the Tampa Bay Lightning, who went on to win that cup that year. Last year it was you run into the Florida Panthers amidst their run, and they played very well in that series. And then this year they go up against the Boston Bruins, who have been playing very good hockey down the stretch, and that's just their kryptonite. And it goes to 7 games, and they're not able to win in that Game 7 once again. It's that first round Game 7 to the Boston Bruins that they're just not able to win for whatever reason. So it's a couple games that really define his tenure as the coach of the Toronto Maple Leafs. I don't believe that he's a bad coach. You look at his track record, and these players are willing to play for him. He clearly is a great coach. He put out a video that we'll talk about a little bit later, and it really showed what kind of guy he was, what kind of mentor he was for this team, how he dealt with all aspects of being the coach of the Toronto Maple Leafs. Not an easy job. So for him, there are plenty of options for him. He got a 2-year extension last year, I believe, so he's making $2 million a year for the foreseeable future. He does get that contract, so he could pick up another coaching job if he wanted to and not get paid by the Toronto Maple Leafs. But he could just kind of sit on the couch, watch his kids grow up a little bit, and kind of go on vacation for the next 2 years and return to coaching when you kind of taking a little bit of that break. When it comes to coaching in the NHL, it is a popular saying that it's your second destination that is going to be your most successful. So for Sheldon Keefe, wherever he's going next, that will be his second destination. I know for guys like Joel Quenneville, it was more of his third destination that made him very successful. Or Craig Berube was his third destination that made him very successful. So we're going to see where he goes to next. It'll be very interesting to see if whatever team he does go to next, will they be able to thrive having Sheldon Keefe, or maybe he was a product of this amazing forward group that is the Toronto Maple Leafs. There were some weird coaching decisions during his tenure at Toronto. This offseason, or from the 2023 season going into this current season that we're in, he tried to make William Nylander into a center. He's played wing his entire career. So he spent all of training camp really working on making William Nylander a center, and that never came to fruition. We never saw it on the ice, and William Nylander had an amazing season this year, but it was a little bit weird that you would kind of waste a training camp with this guy and not see him at center, especially because you have two amazing centers already that lock up your first line and second line. Austin Matthews on that first line, John Tavares on that second line. Really, having a winger to complement them is what William Nylander and Mitch Marner have been doing before. Last year was Zach Hyman, and then you have gotten production out of a lot of guys on that other side. But for them, to move him to center was a little bit of a weird one. A lot of people raised their eyebrows to that, and then to not see that come to fruition, really, a lot of people questioned it. You put Mitch Marner on the PK in these playoffs. For me, personally, I thought that was the wrong decision. Mitch Marner is a small guy. I don't know why he's out there on the penalty kill. He's known for his offensive ability, definitely not for his defensive ability. He's never been one of those guys to go out there and shut down a period or shut down a shift. So for me, that was odd. I know a lot of people didn't really question that too much. With Austin Matthews' absence, maybe he was the one that kind of just filled in that role. He knew it a little bit more than other guys. But he's probably not the guy. Throw in a third-line guy. Throw in a fourth-line guy. Give him an opportunity on that penalty kill. That led to a lot of Bruins chances. The penalty kill was good in Game 5 and Game 6, but before that, Mitch Marner looked like a liability for it. He changed from a very possession tactic, kind of compare it to a little bit of that tiki-taka style that you see in European soccer today, that Arsenal currently play or that Man City currently play with their Spanish managers. Of course, Barcelona 09 is the most famous team to play that tiki-taka. And he kind of tried to implement that a little bit into the Maple Leafs, and it just never worked. The biggest problem for him is hockey is not soccer, and you're playing a lot of the game in your own in your defensive zone, and that led to a lot of turnovers, and that led to a lot of teams gaining great scoring chances off of your own turnovers. So he had to change. He was brought in to kind of be that anti-Babcock, that anti-dump and chase guy, and then he turned straight into a dump and chase guy. Long stretch passes you saw a lot of, and he was kind of the antithesis of what he kind of came into being. So it was about time for him. He kind of, when you see a coach, it changed up his entire mentality that he brought into, when he was interviewing for this role. That he's talking about how he wants to change it up from that Babcock style, and he goes straight back into it. And that could have led to a lot of not having the puck with your superstars, and that could have led to no goals from John Tavares or Mitch Marner not getting that offense production in that series against the Bruins this year. He is a good coach with a great winning percentage, so he's going to go somewhere. Part of his legacy until his next stop is going to be, can't get it done in the playoffs. Will anybody be able to get this team over the hump, though, for the Toronto Maple Leafs? We'll talk about the top three in the next coaching here in a little bit, but I want to talk about, before we move on from Sheldon Keefe, he made a video. It was kind of like a sabby, like goodbye to Toronto. Him growing up in Ottawa, Canada, or not Ottawa, in Ontario, Canada. He wanted, this is his dream job, of course. And he said that in the video, this is his dream job. He said, "I'm forever grateful for the opportunity to coach the Toronto Maple Leafs. I didn't get it done in the playoffs. And that's the job, and I didn't get it done." And, of course, he knows where he went wrong, and he understands why this decision was made. And if you were questioning why they made this decision, look no further than that quote. I didn't get it done in the playoffs. That's the job, and I didn't get it done. That's the understanding for the Toronto Maple Leafs. It's kind of the same that you see in a lot of college football programs. You know, those Alabamas, Ohio State, most notably, a lot of people are calling for Ryan Day after these last few years to, this is his last opportunity because he's just not been able to get it done against Michigan in the playoffs. And you're seeing that in Toronto. Dallas Cowboys, another example. These organizations expect to win a championship every year, no doubt. And to not be able to do it, you're going to not have a long tenure in Toronto, and that's what happened for Sheldon Keefe. But now, where does Toronto go from here? You have Craig Berube. He was a Stanley Cup winner. These are the three names that I've seen the most rumored. Craig Berube, Todd McClellan, Joel Quenneville. Craig Berube, Stanley Cup winner in St. Louis. He was fired this season after a 4-game losing streak, capped off by a 6-3 loss to the Washington Capitals back in December. He is an amazing coach. That could definitely play with these superstars. You saw it get done in St. Louis. He was hired from that playoff run and really wasn't able to emulate that same success. So I do worry about Craig Berube maybe not being able to, maybe that run was just kind of like lightning in a bottle. But for him, we'll see what he can do when he takes over if he does take over in Toronto. Todd McClellan, former Kings, Oilers, Sharks head coach, from most recent to oldest, Kings, at the Oilers, and then the Sharks. He's kind of a known playoff loser for me, though. I'd be a little bit worried for him. He's great in the regular season. Very similar to kind of that Sheldon Keefe mold here in Toronto. 7-9 in playoff series for him. He lost back-to-back first rounds to Edmonton, and that's why he's out the door. He has a career 598 wins, 412 losses, 134 overtime losses in the regular season. That is a very, very, very good percentage. It makes the playoffs a lot. And he has a 42-46 record in those playoffs. So he's had opportunities. I mean, he's had deep playoff runs. He had deep playoff runs in San Jose in 2015 or in 2011. I think they went pretty far in that playoffs. So he could definitely take this Toronto Maple Leaf team far. And this team would definitely be the most talented team he's ever coached. So we'll be interested to see how he can do if he does get the opportunity in Toronto. Joel Quenneville is my third and final rumored coach to take over this Toronto Maple Leaf squad. He's been coaching since 1996. He picked it up in St. Louis. He's a 3-time Cup winner in Chicago. He was the head coach for their run. Big part of their early 2010s dynasty, all from 2010, 2012, and 2015. Or 2010, 2013, 2015. Those were the years that they won, and he was a big part of that stretch. But he has not won a playoff series since that 2015 of his third of 3 cups. So that's a little bit concerning. Most recent, he was in Florida in 2021-2022. That season, he got off to a 7-0-0 start. And then he got called into commissioner's office, into Gary Bettman's office, and he was... Later that day, he told the media that he was going to resign from head coach of the Florida Panthers. So, is he able to even coach in the NHL? We don't even know. He resigned amongst the scandal concerning a player on his 2010 Chicago Blackhawks team. So, we'll be interested to see if they are able to get him. I think he would be the front runner if they are able to. It has been reported. I saw reports from Sportsnet that they have called Joel Quenneville, and they do want to get him in to replace Sheldon Keefe. So be interested to see what the Toronto Maple Leafs do with this vacancy. Probably the number one premier coaching spot when you're looking at the coaches that currently do not have a job. These guys definitely want to go to Toronto. They have a winning culture, and a lot is expected of them, and that is a great challenge for a lot of these coaches. But that's enough for the Toronto Maple Leafs. You won't hear from me again for them until they get a coach to replace Sheldon Keefe. But with that, We're going to take our second break of the evening. When I come back, we'll talk about the Hart Trophy finalists as they have been announced earlier this week.